Happy birthday to me. Hey, it's my birthday. And so welcome to this video. In this video, I am sharing why I was anxious about turning 30, and now that I am 1 year into 30, meaning I have turned 31 today, 22nd November, I want to share what I've learned also. Why I was anxious, but also what I have learned having been in my 30s for 1 year. All right. So before I turned 30, especially in my late 20s and 28, 29, I was a bit anxious. That was last year when I was almost turning 30. I think I was more anxious about turning 30. And so one of the reasons why I was very, very anxious was because I was feeling there are things I had not achieved. So, of course, just like many people, I had a vision for what I would have wanted to achieve by the time I get to 30. And now that I hadn't achieved these things, I was feeling a bit anxious that I'm now moving to another decade, but the things I had in mind for myself in my 20s, I had not yet achieved them. Okay? So that was one reason that made me feel a bit anxious about turning 30. The other one is I didn't have a clear plan for my 30s. When I was in my 20s, I had let me say, some desires or some of the things I wanted in life to when I got to, I think, 28, 29. So I had a clear plan for my life. Of course, only God establishes the goals we have, right? But I had some, written down. I had written down some things, and there are also things that I didn't write down, but I had a desire in my heart. But now I didn't have anything for my 30s. Like when I was younger, I never thought about myself in my 30s. All right. So now when I was getting to 30, I was like, so it's a new decade. I am getting into what is the plan for this? What will I be doing for the next 10 years, or for the next 5 years? So that made me anxious because I didn't have a plan for my life. I had not written down for my life after 30. I'd only thought about my life in my 20s. The other thing that made me anxious is the fact that I was going to officially move from youth to adult. I know, like in Kenya, youth, you're youth until you're 35, but most times when you get to your 30s, people no longer look at you as a young person. And especially when you're single, people can still look at you as a young person. But especially now that I'm already a mom, married, and I am a mom, honestly, you go there and people see you as a mother. People don't look at you as a youth. So, and the fact that when I was in my 20s, I'd look at people in their 30s and think, man, these people are older, So I thought even for me, now that I'm turning 30, now I am now becoming that older person, and now an adult, responsible adult. I have to have my life figured out. I have to now take more responsibilities and, offer guidance and, be an inspiration and all that. So I was feeling some bit of weight on having to move from being a youth to an adult. So as a result, when I was almost turning 30, I just took a break from everything for around 2 months, just from everything. And I was just doing a lot of soul searching. A lot happened around that time. And I just told my husband I need to just take a break from everything, just stay home. Not go out a lot, just stay home and do a lot of soul searching and really pray. And like I mentioned in my previous video, that is the time that my YouTube channel that idea was actually born inside me. My husband had that idea before, but now that is the time I embraced the idea. So I did a lot of soul searching around that time, and that is also the time that I started writing my first book. So around that time, I just had to do a lot of soul searching and seeking God and asking, what am I going to be doing in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years, you know? Of course, I don't have everything like figured out, but at least I got a glimpse of what I should be doing. And that's why I began this YouTube channel. That's why I wrote the book. I've written now 2 books so far, and I'm continuing in the journey. Of course, those are not my final books. I still have others working on. So that is what I did, and that gave me some bit of peace when I was now moving into 30. This is something I did, like, I think 3 months to my 30th birthday. That is what I did. Now that I am turning 31, for this 1 year that I have been in my 30s, man, I think I am more excited and more comfortable about this new decade, and I am more hopeful. I'm no longer anxious. I actually enjoy being in my 30s. And this is what I have learned. For this, I'll just give 5 things I have learned from me having turned 30. Number 1, as I did soul searching, I actually realized that things that I have achieved that I had not even planned, you know. There are things I had managed to do that were not in my head, like things I hadn't even desired. There are things I hadn't even thought about, things I hadn't planned, but I'd actually achieved them. All right, so even if there are things I didn't achieve, there are still things I managed to achieve. All right, the second thing is, I still have a life to live, especially the fact that people say life starts at 40, right? Life starts at 40. So I still have time to achieve some of the things that I did not make it to achieve in my 20s. So the fact that I have moved into my 30s doesn't mean the goals I had for my 20s cannot be achieved. It is not like my life is over. I am still energetic. I am still young. So I can still achieve some of the things that I did not achieve. So I still have time. That is the other thing I have gotten to know, that I still have time to achieve the things I had not yet achieved. It's never over. As long as you're still in this life, you're still alive and breathing, you can still live your life and achieve those goals that you wanted to achieve. The other thing about adulting, it's called adulting. I'm adulting. That one, becoming an adult. I have come to realize the fact that I've become 30, I'm still my parents' child. I'm still that younger sister, you know. So that is for my siblings. So nothing much has changed. Yes, I have now become an adult, and I still have to take responsibility, but you'll still find I'm still called, you know, my parents still call and check up on me and get to know how I am doing. So me having turned into a new decade doesn't mean that now my parents won't care about me, you know. They can still come through, which they have done whenever we need their support. Family will always be there, you know. So as much as I have now moved to this age that I'm expected to be this full-grown adult, I'm still that, you know, my parents' child. So that hasn't changed, and that helped me just realize it doesn't mean that now I am abandoned, you know, that because I have become an adult that now I am abandoned. I'm not yet abandoned, and I won't be abandoned. All my life I'll still be my parents' child. And just to encourage anybody who might be feeling you have become old and all, it's never that serious. The other thing is embrace God's plan. So the fact that there are things I had achieved that I didn't even think about, I realized, just like I've said before, we plan as human beings, just like the Bible says, we plan, but God establishes our plans. So we can have goals, there are goals I can have, but God is the one who establishes. So all I need to do is to embrace, yes, I have my own plan, I have my own desires, but then I embrace what God has planned for me. He says he has good plans for my life. So if things don't go as I have desired, because some of these things that I probably had in mind, they are things that were beyond my control. There are things I might not have achieved unless God helped me, right? So if I have not yet achieved them, then I just know in God's time, God will make things beautiful. God will make these things beautiful. So just embracing God's plan for my life, which leads me to the other one, and that is I don't have to have my whole life figured out. Now that I have tried to just follow the simple steps that I already have, that I got when I was just asking God, what should I be doing in this decade? I just got, very simple instructions, and I've already shared just just a snippet, a snippet, like starting this YouTube channel and writing my first book. So with that, I have just embraced that this is what I'm supposed to do now, and that is what I am doing. I don't have to have my whole life figured out. I have desires. I still have some goals. I still have some things I want to achieve, but I don't have to have my whole life figured out for me to have a fulfilled life, right? For me to enjoy being in my 30s. I don't have to be that person who has everything figured out until in my 50s, all right? It's not like I have not thought about my 50s, but I don't have to know the details of everything. Just embracing what I have to do now and taking a day at a time, a month at a time, a year at a time, and trying to achieve all I have to achieve in this month before I go to the next month. I don't have to figure out everything, just going step by step. That is the other thing I have learned. The other thing is pursuing life's purpose. By the way, this has been a big one. It's not like I'd never thought about my purpose. It's not like I wasn't trying to pursue my purpose, but the more I became intentional about it, the more I have realized that it gives a sense of fulfillment that nothing else can give. So me trying to pursue my life's purpose has given me such a fulfillment that I think I hadn't gotten before. Even, I had, tried to pursue my purpose, but I think I wasn't very intentional before, like I have been after I turned 30, because when I realized, man, life is moving. I cannot continue, postponing some things. I cannot continue hoping that I will do these things when maybe I'm in my 50s and 60s. For example, like writing books. This is something I desired to do when I was way before. I even wrote it down in, the way we have vision boards. Yes, I don't have a board. I have books that I write down my vision, and that is something I thought I would achieve when I'm probably in my 60s, in my 50s, right? But I realized, when God put that in my heart, then I realized I don't have to wait until I'm 60 for me to write my first book, right? I can write it today. And that's what I did. So just embracing the plan God has for me and doing a day at a time. The other thing I have learned, which is the 6th, I had said 5 points, but now this is the 6th. The other one I have learned or realized is, with the experience I've had in my 20s, I can hold someone's hand and help guide them with the mistakes I did in my 20s, and also with the things I did right in my 20s, the things I learned in my 20s. I can hold someone's hand and guide them so that they have a better and more fulfilled life in their 20s as they lay a foundation for their lives. All right. So basically, and especially now that maybe the people who have been watching my YouTube channel, you can tell that I have mostly been focusing on preparation for dating, or when you're dating, you know, preparing for marriage, because that is what I learned when I was in my 20s. So I'm just sharing the same knowledge to help someone else who is in their 20s, because that is where I have been. So I have learned that I have some little experience. I'm not yet, you know, like I don't have all this experience of, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years of experience, but the little I have learned in my last decade, in my 20s, and a bit in my teens, but mostly in my 20s, is something I can share with someone who is younger than me that could help them. So that is the other thing I have learned. Now, for anybody who could be struggling with, or you're probably anxious about turning 30, this is what I have to say. You need to seek God. Just sit down, take maybe a few days, or take a day. Sit down and seek God. Ask God what He wants you to do in this other decade. All right? Seek God and pray. God is able to give you a light so that you don't be that anxious, and then you just have peace knowing that He's got you, knowing that He has good plans, and knowing that He is walking with you this journey. All right, so seek God and ask Him what He wants you to achieve now that you are moving into your 30s. Now, if you are turning into your 30s, or whatever age you are, or probably you are feeling anxious, number one you need to do is seek God. Just take time, sit down and seek God. Ask God what He wants you to do, what He desires for you to do in this new age. So, or whatever new season you are entering. Maybe it's age or it's a new season in your life. Just ask God what He wants you to do. And because He has good plans for your life, He desires the best for you, He will be able to guide you. And just knowing that God got you, like God is holding you with His right hand, that He is walking with you, that will give you the strength and the grace to go into the new season. All right. The other thing you need to do is take an account of your life so far. And by taking an account for your life, it is both on the positive and the negative. Something my brother told me when I had just finished campus, when I was still in my early 20s, he told me to write down my eulogy. By writing my eulogy, wasn't like I was now predicting my death. No, he told me just write and see, because eulogies normally talk about people's success, right? So it's like, write down the things that you would want people to read if you would go today, you know, like if your life was over today. That would help you see the achievements you have done so far in your life. And then ask yourself, what more would I want in this eulogy, right? What more achievements would I want for my life? Then with that, then you can start pursuing things connected to your success story, or things that you'd want people to remember you for, or building a legacy. All right. I'm not saying you have to write your eulogy, but take an account for your life. What are some of the things you have done right? Also, look at some of the things that you might have done wrong, and start working on them. There might be maybe negative habits that you're still struggling with, or negative things that you're maybe still struggling with, maybe negative friends. You know, just take an account for your life. That will give you clarity for what you want to achieve in the next season. All right, that will give you some sense of direction for what you want to achieve. So seeking God, but also sitting down and taking an account for your life, so that you also take responsibility for the mistakes, and also get that, what is it called? That sense of gratitude and just achievement for the things that you have already done that have worked out well. And the reason I say that is because sometimes, because of that feeling that, oh, I have not achieved that, I have not achieved this, and probably you still have, maybe your colleagues or your peers, your friends have achieved more. According to you, they have achieved more than you. You might feel down, you might feel like a failure, but when you take an account for your life and look at the things you have already achieved, you might realize, by the way, you have achieved so much more than you're giving yourself account for. So just take an account for your life. The last thing I will say on this is you need to discover and pursue your purpose. It will give you such a fulfillment, and if you're just turning 30 or you are probably going to your 30s, if you start pursuing your purpose this early, it's never too late. If you have not yet started pursuing in your 20s, if you start pursuing in your early 30s, man, you have a long way. You're able to do so much. By the time probably you're becoming old and you're no longer energetic, you're no longer able to achieve a lot, all right? So if you have not yet discovered, or you've already discovered and you're not pursuing, this is the time to pursue your purpose. And on that note, I have done an ebook on the discovery and pursuit of your life's purpose. It's a 1-month devotional that you can start with in this coming month, the month of December, and just take off and start your 2025 all energized, all renewed, and ready to conquer and pursue your purpose. All right, so you can check that out. That is my second book, and I hope you will start pursuing your purpose and feeling fulfilled. I pray that God will give you peace, that you stop being anxious about getting into the new season. Remember, you can as well hold someone's hand and guide them. If you're just turning 30, you can hold the younger you and guide them in the new season. God bless you. I hope to see you in the next video. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment and give us a like.